Hi, this is Dr. Daniel Amen.
And I'm Tana Amen.
We're so excited you're with us. For this week's series, what we're doing is we're playing the live class from the end of mental illness.
We wanted you to join us on this journey because we had such a good time in our class, and the people who joined us had just saw such incredible transformation that we wanted to share the challenge with our tribe. So we wanted to share this with you, and we hope that you will join us in the challenge.
What are the tasks for this week? Detox negative people. We have a friends versus accomplices inventory. So write down who your friends who support your mental health versus those who support your mental illnesses, or your brain health versus your brain health trouble. Where can you share this information? I mean, ultimately, we're doing this to create warriors to spread the message. We have evil ruler strategies in the book, The End of Mental Illness. I talk about if I was an evil ruler. And I've given you some of those strategies. If I was an evil ruler, how would I create mental illness in America? And so many of them are happening now. Well, we wrote evil ruler strategies from the book. We also have good ruler strategies. I want you to download those, read those. Send a Brain Warriors Way podcast to other people. We just did a podcast with Josh Axe. That was really great. We did one you're just going to love on the book It Didn't Start With You with
so
Mark Wolin. That was really great.
It was really great.
We've done, how many podcasts have we done?
Oh my gosh, I'm not even sure.
Like 600 or something crazy. Yeah. Share my viral video about Andrew. It's one of the most important stories I've ever shared. And 7 is create a short video or an audio or an email to us on how this information has impacted you. And we're going to pick, goodness, almost 50 people. So you have a really good chance of winning if you follow the directions. And then on March 17th, so that's 3 weeks from tonight, I'm going to come back. We're going to come back and we're going to announce the winners and perhaps answer a few more questions about how you put this information in your life. So we are thrilled you are watching. Let's take time to answer a few more questions. If someone has allergic reactions to fish oil, where would you suggest super low doses to begin with? Well, really high quality fish oil, like we have at BrainMD, all the fish proteins are filtered out.
Yeah, typically,
and
people
we've
don't.
not had anybody, at least that I'm aware of, that had an allergic
I mean, it doesn't
reaction.
mean you, like on a rare occasion they can't, but usually people who are allergic to fish protein don't have a problem with fish, high quality filtered fish oil.
But I would start with a very low dose. Don't start with 4 capsules at once. You can actually take a toothpick and poke the capsule and squeeze it maybe
Just a little
into a shake and then just have like a quarter of it. I think that's how I would start. Is eating healthy fats okay, even if you're
we addressed
trying
that one already,
to lose
and the
weight?
answer, we addressed that one last week, and the answer is absolutely, especially if you're trying to lose weight, because it increases satiety. So for sure.
Satiety, you sense of fullness.
Yeah.
You talked about the benefits of hyperbaric oxygen. How many sessions will it take to make a difference? Will I really be able to feel a change in my life? I was looking for mental acuity, but after 4 sessions, didn't see any results.
Can I answer this? I mean, you need to answer it from the scientific standpoint, but so it's funny. So I am doing hyperbaric oxygen, And when I first started doing it, I was like, all right, I'm so busy. Why am I taking the time to do this? I know I'm doing it because I know it's supposed to be good for me. I'm hoping it's going to help my brain. I didn't really feel it until after the 10th one. And that's when I really started to notice it. And I can't say that I woke up one day and went, whoa, I feel really good. But what happened was I all of a sudden noticed I was stronger when I was working out. And like I wasn't as tired during the day. Like I noticed little things like that. And so then after about maybe 5 or 10 more, I started to notice like just, it was sort of subtle and it just sort of subtly I noticed improvements. And what I love going in there. It's like I can escape the whole world and I can just tell people I didn't hear you because I was in the chamber.
So sometimes people notice it after a couple. Sometimes they need 40 sessions.
Yeah.
There's a great
Don't
story.
we typically tell people 40?
We do, but there's a great story of Super Bowl MVP quarterback Joe Namath, who had a SPECT scan and his brain looked terrible. And he had 40 sessions of hyperbaric oxygen. And his scan looked better and he felt better. So then he did 40 more. And after 40 more, his scan looked better still and he felt better. And so I decided to do 40 more. He did a total of 120. His scan was normal. And at his age, he's still doing product endorsements. And he just says it made a radical positive difference.
Yeah, I've heard people say all different things. I've heard some people say, oh, after about the 5th one, I started to sleep better. I've heard other people say, nah, it took me like 15 or 20. Like I started to feel better, but I didn't really notice a big improvement until after I had like 15 or 20. I think it's just different. I just started to notice a subtle improvement, and then it was just very subtle little steps after that. But it's definitely better, for sure.
Is hyperbaric oxygen contraindicated for any conditions? And then another person is claustrophobic to it. It's contraindicated if you can't handle the pressure in your ears. If you have glaucoma, you should be careful because it can change the pressure in your eye. Sometimes a person's eyeglass prescription will change with hyperbaric
My
oxygen.
mom, when she hit her head, they didn't pick up that she had a bleed. So if you have had a recent head injury, you want to be sure you don't have a bleed. Like you've waited and you know you don't have a bleed in your head, right? You don't want pressure in your head if you've got a bleed. So for sure.
Do CT and MRI scans necessarily show brain damage after a serious fall or injury? The answer is absolutely not. They are often normal.
So my favorite example that you give to describe to people the difference between what we do and a CT or an MRI, you could take your computer right now and drop it, and the computer will look normal, right? That is an anatomical scan. It looks normal. It looks fine. But if you try and turn it on, it may not run normally. It may not function normally. That's more akin to what we do. Like we check the function of it. Just because it looks normal doesn't mean it's running normal.
What are your thoughts on venison?
If it's wild, wild, free range, great. Fantastic.
What are your thoughts on whole milk?
So that's different for everybody. So the reason we're generally not a fan of dairy is because we actually talked about that in one of our previous episodes. The caseomorphins, when it breaks down with stomach acid and it crosses the blood-brain barrier. However, the other reason is because the majority of the population is lactose intolerant. And even if they're not lactose intolerant, they have a problem with some breaking down some form of the dairy proteins, the milk proteins. So that's the main reason we have people go off of it for a couple of weeks. But not everyone has that. And that said, there's other issues with dairy as well. And I actually write a lot about that in our books. That said, the studies that show that people have severe allergic reactions to cow's milk, when they actually did studies with children with severe milk allergies and they tested them with sheep's milk, they didn't have, or goat's milk, they didn't have the same reaction. The majority of them did not have the same reaction. So many people who can't tolerate, it's actually digested. The casein in it is different. The protein is different. And many people who can't tolerate cow's milk have a different reaction with sheep's milk or goat's milk. So everyone's not the same. It's a smaller percentage of the population, and some people can tolerate certain types of milk better than others. We write extensively about that in Brain Warriors Way and Omni Diet.
When my babies quit breastfeeding, the pediatrician recommends whole milk several times a day.
Of course.
What do you think?
That's because it's always been said.
It's the habit.
But
if your child develops a lot of earaches, they may be sensitive to dairy. And
or
so
phlegm
many
or sinus
people,
problems.
I think you were one of them, had a lot of antibiotics.
Yeah.
And often when you just get rid of the dairy, their ear infections get significantly better. Is decaf coffee okay?
I would make it organic, but yes.
It has a lot of antioxidants. So you say to avoid bread. I understand this in regards to white bread, bagels, etc. But what about whole grain organic bread? In particular, my favorite, Dave's Killer Bread, 21 whole grains and seeds. Thank you for all your amazing information.
So we don't have a lot of time. And that's going to take a little time. Again, we write about this extensively. I've written about it extensively in Omni Diet, Brain Warriors Way. So if you want more information,
I write about it in the End of Mental Illness.
Yes, if you want more information,
there's a whole chapter called Food Made Insanely Simple.
So if you want more information, you can actually read more about that. But the quick version is it still has gluten. And believe it or not, on the glycemic index, it's not much better than sugar or white bread. So if you're going to have bread and you're going to do it, then Dave's Killer Bread is probably better because it's organic. I will give it that. But it's not technically all that much better for you as far as the glycemic index or regarding gluten. And we've already discussed in one of our previous episodes why we're not fans of gluten. So, and we go extensively into it in some of our other books. So
my DCFS social worker is giving me a hard time about keeping my kids away from cow's milk.
Yeah.
Doctor has noted that they have mild milk intolerance, and he said that doesn't mean anything. There are people that don't have this information. And so because they were raised on cow's milk, they're like, oh, it's all fine. And
so it's also the difference between traditional medicine that's been taught one way forever and functional medicine, which is more progressive. I would never suggest you go against what your doctor teaches, but I would suggest you do some research on your own. I tell people to be their own best advocate when it comes to health. Do a little research on it.
Does a postmenopausal woman need to have her iron levels monitored? Absolutely. Because you don't know unless you look.
Even men
low
need to have
iron
them.
is a problem, but high iron.
Yeah, even men need to have it checked.
All right, last question. We're so grateful for all of you.
Thank you.
What are your thoughts on drinking alcohol, and how much does it hurt the brain? So if you have one or two normal sized drinks a week, it's probably not a big deal. People who drink every day have a smaller brain. And when it comes to your brain, size matters. I think we talked about alcohol, but less is better if you want to keep your brain healthy over time. A little bit's not a problem. A lot is a disaster.
If you're enjoying the Brain Warriors Way podcast, please don't forget to subscribe so you'll always know when there's a new episode. And while you're at it, feel free to give us a review or 5-star rating, as that helps others find the podcast.
If you're considering coming to Amen Clinics or trying some of the brain healthy supplements from BrainMD, you can use the code podcast10 to get a 10% discount on a full evaluation at amenclinics.com or a 10% discount on all supplements at brainmdhealth.com. For more information, give us a call at 855-978-1363.